This video will review the basics of Teams, including hotkeys, Sync 365 services, video meetings, the at function, and file collaboration. A good thing to know when you're getting started with Teams is that there are keyboard shortcuts available. You can access them by holding Control and pressing the period button. When you do that, it's going to pop up here. Teams doesn't have any keyboard shortcuts that are particularly amazing or that will make too big of a difference in how quickly you're doing things. But anytime you are going to be using a new program, especially if you're going to be using it for an extended period of time, it's a really good idea to learn which keyboard shortcuts are going to be useful to you, because they will save you a lot of time and hassle in the long run. I'll show you my favorite keyboard shortcut in an upcoming section here. But first, let's just talk a little bit more about Teams. So when you first start up Teams, you will notice that it has synced with your university OneDrive and Outlook calendar. So you'll probably see your Outlook calendar items for the day. I've got a blank calendar going on here for this tutorial. You can also access that in the calendar tab down here. Same thing. And that's just pulling in directly from your Outlook. And the excellent thing about this is you can actually just use this calendar like you would use your Outlook calendar to schedule your meetings and whatever else you want to do. So certainly you can schedule team meetings, but you can also just use it to populate your calendar. And I personally find that this UI is much better than the Outlook UI. And it's a more pleasant experience just populating your calendar with the Zoom calendar than it is with the Outlook calendar. Your OneDrive files are going to automatically sync, and they're all going to be right there. One thing to note, while the university does state that you can use your OneDrive for personal use to a reasonable extent, Teams is not going to distinguish between your personal files and your work files. So if you are going to be using Teams and you're going to be doing a lot of document collaboration, you might want to just pull any personal files off that OneDrive so that you don't have any maybe embarrassing situations where you share a personal letter or something like that by accident. Setting up a meeting in Teams is very easy. You just go to the calendar or to activity. I'll do calendar. And then you can either click Meet Now or click New Meeting, and that's actually going to do the same thing as would happen if you tried to drag out a spot on the calendar. It's just going to pop open this meeting scheduling thing here. Obviously, you know how to schedule a meeting and invite people. It's no different than anywhere else. So I'm just going to close that and just click Meet Now so you can see. So you can title your meeting, test meeting. You can decide whether or not you want video. And whether or not you want your mic picked up. It's going to tell you which mic it is. You can actually change it right there before you answer the call. You can even make a test call. Okay. You can blur the background of your webcam feed with the hotkey Control-Shift-P. So it's quite similar to Zoom. You can share various things, whether that be a screen or a whiteboard, or there's specifically you can share PowerPoints as well. So just click on whiteboard. For the whiteboard, that's going to pull up the whiteboard here. You're going to get your UI on the right hand side here. Looks a little bit different than Zoom. It is different than Zoom, that's for sure. But it should do the trick for what you're looking for. You can collaborate with the other people in the meeting, do whatever you need to do, and then just go ahead when you're ready to stop presenting. You just drag over here. This will show up, and you click Stop Presenting, because otherwise it could be a bit confusing. There's no option anywhere else. That's the only way. Is just right here. So there you go. You can also, as I mentioned, do some screen share. And that sort of stuff. Just be careful with your chat. There's no way to delete the chat at this time. If you know, and it can be kind of tricky to tell if there are other people there. You want to look up here so you can see there's only one participant in this chat here. This chat was created automatically for this meeting that I had set up. But you'll have other chats that aren't associated with meetings. They're more permanent chats. They'll have different icons. And with those, just check up here, see which participants are in there. You'll also see along the top, in some cases, participants will be listed. You can't delete the chat. You can delete individual messages, but the chat is basically permanent. And so just watch out for that, because, you never know. You don't want to make a mistake, say something that you shouldn't have said, and then have somebody else come into that chat and see that, because that's another thing. People who are joining later, they're going to be able to see what happened before they joined. So watch out for that as well. Beyond that, we do have the @mention function. So and then if you had participants in the channel, they would come up as suggestions. The @mention sends a notification to the individual. @team sends a notification to everyone on that team. And @channel sends a notification to everyone who's favorited the channel. Beyond that, there's file collaboration. So typically in Teams, you can just create a blank Office document directly in this Files tab here. And just to clarify, so we're in the chat menu here, the chat tab of this chat, and we just click on the Files tab up here on the top. Okay, so normally we have the option to create blank documents. We don't have that option at the university at this time. So what we can do, just share from our computer. So I'm going to upload one from the desktop here, and we will call it, let's see here, I believe I made one already. Our shared document. I'll go ahead and open that up. So that's uploading right now, you can see. And that'll be ready in a moment here. So if we look in the chat, we can see, so it's sending right now. Once it's sent, we'll be good to go. Your document should be visible in the Files tab of the chat, like so. But if it hasn't loaded in there yet, you can still access it in the chat itself. So here in the chat, we can either edit in Teams or open a desktop app. If you open it in the desktop app, at first it's going to seem like it's not synced up with your team. It is. Don't worry. You just got to give it a minute. But if you want to make sure it's working 100% right from the beginning, you can just edit it by edit in Teams. It's going to show you the state of the document currently. You can click edit. And that's actually going to open up the Word editor in your browser. And the interesting thing here is it's not just us that are editing this, it's everyone else that I share the document with in Teams can also just jump in and edit this at the same time. You're going to see their cursor. It's just like editing like a shared Google Doc or something like that. But it can be convenient doing that kind of document collaboration in this way. Another important thing to note here, privacy-wise, is you can't delete these files for some reason at this time. It is a feature of Teams. It is not currently a feature that I personally have access to with our version of Teams. So that could be potentially a reason that you might not want to use Teams for your particular team, because maybe you're working with sensitive documents where that can't be a risk that you can take, where the document's just out there forever. So keep that in mind.